The hum of Dooku's crimson blade silenced in an instant. Anakin stood over the fallen Sith Lord, his breathing heavy, the tips of his mechanical fingers trembling. Wind howled through the shattered window of the invisible hand's observation deck. Palpatine's voice lingered in his ear. Do it. But Anakin hadn't killed out of command. He killed because Dooku left him no choice, because the war demanded it. The Count's headless body crumpled at his feet. Obi-Wan lay unconscious. Behind him, Palpatine smiled with quiet triumph, his golden eyes glittering just beneath a thin veil of concern. You did well, my boy. Count Dooku was too dangerous to be kept alive. Anakin didn't answer. His heart was racing, but it wasn't fear. It wasn't pride either. It was clarity. All at once, the rage, the confusion, the endless push and pull between duty and desire, it burned away like mist in sunlight. I didn't do it for you, Anakin said, his voice low. I did it because he threatened everything I love. Palpatine's smile faltered slightly. Of course, Anakin. Everything you do is out of loyalty. Loyalty to the Republic. Loyalty to Padme, Anakin interrupted. And to my own future. Not the Jedi's, not yours. Palpatine studied him like a hawk watching prey shift in a way it didn't expect. Be careful, my boy. You walk a dangerous path when you question your allies. Anakin looked down at his gloved hand, the hand they gave me, the hand they forced on me after Geonosis, after they failed to save my mother, after they refused to give me the power to protect the ones I love. I'm not walking any path you've laid out, Anakin whispered. Not anymore. The battle outside the Star Cruiser raged on. Fires consumed corridors. The Republic assault was overwhelming. But none of it mattered. When Obi-Wan stirred, Anakin knelt beside him and helped him sit up. Anakin, what happened? Obi-Wan's eyes searched the room until they locked on Dooku's corpse. It's over, Anakin said simply. But there's something I need to tell you. Obi-Wan frowned. What is it? I'm leaving the Jedi. For a long moment, all Obi-Wan could do was blink, his face pale beneath soot and blood. Anakin, you've just brought an end to one of the greatest threats to the Republic. You'll be honored. I don't want their honors. His voice was steel. I want a life, a real one. Not one where I have to lie about the woman I love, not one where I'm told to sacrifice everything and get nothing in return but lectures. Obi-Wan opened his mouth, but Anakin held up a hand. I've made my choice. I'll help land this ship. I'll see the Chancellor safely to Coruscant, but after that, I'm done. As the invisible hand spiraled toward Coruscant, Anakin sat alone in the cockpit while Obi-Wan tended to the crew and the wounded. The weight of his decision pressed on him, heavier than Dooku's corpse had ever been. The Jedi would call it betrayal. The Council would try to stop him. Palpatine might too. But this time, he wasn't afraid. Padme, I'm doing this for us. The ship burst through the clouds, and Coruscant's endless cityscape glittered below like a field of stars. The Republic will go on without me. The Jedi will go on without me. But what came next, what galaxy Anakin Skywalker might shape as a free man, was unwritten, and he intended to write it himself. Coruscant's skyline stretched endlessly as Anakin guided the fractured starship down. Fire crews and Republic medics swarmed the landing zone as soon as they touched down. Obi-Wan and the surviving clones rushed to secure the Chancellor and assess the wounded. Palpatine descended the ramp with regal poise despite the battle's aftermath. Anakin, we must speak. I'll find you later, Anakin interrupted, not even glancing back. Right now I need to see someone. The Chancellor's brow furrowed. Anakin, but he was already gone. The Senate district was a blur beneath Anakin's swift pace. His hood concealed his face. People bowed, nodded in respect, whispered his name, the hero of the Clone Wars, the Jedi who defeated Count Dooku. If only they knew I was walking away from all of it. He reached Padme's apartment. The guards recognized him and stepped aside without a word. When the door hissed open, Padme stood at the window watching the skies. The early morning sun bathed her in gold. She turned, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach, the secret she hadn't yet found the courage to share. Anakin. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. She stiffened at first, sensing something different in his embrace. Not the burdened warrior who usually sought comfort in her arms. This time he felt lighter, yet his grip trembled. "I've left the Jedi." His breath was warm against her hair. "I'm done lying, I'm done hiding. Whatever happens next, I want to face it with you." Her lips parted in shock. "Anakin, no, you can't just—" "I can, and I have." He leaned back, searching her eyes. "The Council would never let me have this, have us. I won't let their rules dictate our lives anymore." Tears welled in Padme's eyes. "But what will happen now? They'll come after you, they'll call you a traitor." "I'm not afraid." He smiled softly, brushing a tear from her cheek. "For once, Padme, I feel free." But freedom was never simple. Later that day, a council summons arrived, not a polite invitation, a command. Anakin stood before the holoprojector in Padme's living quarters as the blue-tinged forms of Mace Windu, Yoda, and Ki-Adi-Mundi flickered into view. "Skywalker," Mace's voice was sharp, "you've been avoiding us. I'm no longer a Jedi. I don't answer to the Council." Ki-Adi-Mundi shook his head gravely. "You don't simply quit the Order. You took an oath. An oath forced upon me when I was 9 years old." Anakin's jaw tightened. "An oath that's taken everything from me except the one person I love, and I won't lose her too." "Your attachment clouds your judgment as we feared it would," Windu said coldly. "If you walk away now, you abandon not just the Jedi, but the Republic itself. The Republic has its armies, it doesn't need me anymore." Much fear in you still, Skywalker," Yoda murmured, eyes narrowing. "But also clarity. Unexpected this is. I'm not your pawn anymore." Anakin cut the transmission. Night fell. Anakin sat with Padme, her head resting on his shoulder. They watched the speeder traffic drift like fireflies across the dark horizon. "I have a plan," he whispered. "We'll leave Coruscant, Naboo perhaps, or somewhere the war hasn't touched." Padme nodded, but fear lingered in her gaze. "The Chancellor won't let you just disappear. He's always had his eye on you." Anakin's eyes hardened. "If Palpatine tries to stop me, he'll find I'm not as loyal as he thinks." Neither noticed the faint glimmer of a stealth probe droid hovering silently outside the window, recording every word. Far above the city, in the highest spire of the Senate Tower, Darth Sidious listened to the transmission. His smile was cold, calculating. "So, the Chosen One thinks he can defy destiny." He turned toward the shadows behind him. A new apprentice would be needed, and if Skywalker would not serve him, he would be destroyed. The morning breeze on Coruscant carried a chill that seemed to seep into every corner of Padme's apartment. Anakin barely slept. His senses were sharp, restless. He wasn't a Jedi anymore, yet years of war had conditioned him to feel the approach of danger. And it was coming. Padme was already awake, though she tried to hide the fear on her face. "We should leave now, Annie." "I know." Anakin glanced out the window at the endless skyline. "But we can't just vanish. The Chancellor, the Council, both will come for us unless we make it clear that we're done. No chasing, no pursuit." "How?" "I need to speak to the Senate." His gaze hardened. "If I denounce both the Jedi and Palpatine publicly, they won't be able to paint me as a traitor without risking their own reputations." Padme's breath caught. "That's dangerous. You'll be making enemies on both sides." "I already have." He took her hands gently. "But this is the only way to protect you. And our child." Her eyes widened. The secret she had hidden now lay bare between them. "I was going to tell you after the war." Anakin's face softened. His hand brushed across her belly. "I already knew, the Force told me. It's why I had to make this choice." Across the city, the Jedi Council gathered in person. No holograms now. Mace Windu paced before the other masters. "Skywalker is a threat. He's become unpredictable. Dangerous." Yoda's ears drooped slightly. "Dangerous, yes, but lost not yet." He's made his decision. Windu's voice was firm, and now he's about to take his grievances to the Senate. If he turns public opinion against us, the order could collapse. Obi-Wan stood apart from them, silent. Until now. Maybe you should listen to why he's doing this. Mace turned sharply. Your attachment to him blinds you. Or maybe yours does, Obi-Wan shot back. Attachment to the order, to tradition. We forced him into a corner where every choice looked like betrayal. Ki-Adi-Mundi's voice was cold. We cannot allow him to make the Council the enemy of the Republic in front of the Senate. Yoda sighed deeply. If stop him, we must. Confront him. Obi-Wan should. Trust, he may still hold. Obi-Wan's heart sank. It didn't have to come to this. The Senate rotunda filled to the brim. Senators whispered, speculated. Some leaned toward the Jedi. Others suspected corruption within both the Order and the Chancellor's office. The war had worn down loyalties everywhere. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma watched anxiously from their seats. Anakin walked into the center, alone, his dark robe hiding his tunic. Not Jedi attire, not military uniform, just a man. Palpatine sat high above, his eyes cold, but his smile warm. Master Skywalker, the floor is yours. Not Master anymore, Anakin corrected. His voice echoed through the chamber. I come before the Senate not as a Jedi, not as a soldier of the Republic, but as a citizen. The crowd hushed. I fought your war. I killed the enemies you told me to kill. I sacrificed friends, my body, and nearly my soul to a cause I believed was just. His eyes swept across the senators. But the Jedi Council demanded more than service. They demanded my humanity. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. They forbid love. They punished attachment. They told me to suppress my instincts, my grief, my hope. And in doing so, they created soldiers, not guardians. Palpatine's face grew tight. He hadn't expected this. He thought Anakin would attack the Jedi alone, not drag the Republic into the judgment too. And the Chancellor? Anakin continued. I discovered too late that the war's greatest manipulator wasn't Dooku. It was those who fed the flames, from both sides. Gasps rang out. I am leaving. I renounce both the Jedi Order and any loyalty to the Chancellor's office. I will take no sides in this war, and I ask the Senate to respect the rights of those who choose peace. Palpatine stood, his voice like velvet covering steel. Skywalker, you endanger unity with these accusations. You threaten the Republic itself. I threaten nothing. I only claim my right to live free. For a moment, the entire chamber sat silent. Then Bail Organa stood. The Senate recognizes Anakin Skywalker's right to withdraw from service. A dozen more voices rose in support. Palpatine clenched the railing before him, but he masked the rage behind a thin smile. Very well, but in his private thoughts Darth Sidious burned with fury. You should have been my greatest weapon. Now you will be my first casualty. Outside the rotunda, Obi-Wan waited. As Anakin exited, their eyes met. I thought you'd try to stop me, Anakin said softly. I was sent to. Obi-Wan's shoulders sagged. But I'm starting to wonder if the Council is wrong, or if we all are. Anakin looked past him, to the skyline where ships gathered in formation, Republic gunships. They'll come for me anyway. I gave them a peaceful choice. Now they'll make a violent one. Obi-Wan followed his gaze, grim understanding dawning. Then we leave tonight, Anakin said, before the next battle starts. But the next battle had already begun in the shadows, and it would be one the galaxy would never forget. The shadows were moving faster than Anakin anticipated. Before nightfall, clone patrols swept through the Senate district. Officially, they were searching for separatist spies rumored to be embedded among the political elite. Unofficially, they were preparing for something much darker. Anakin and Padme gathered what little they could, a few belongings, personal data chips, enough credits to disappear. C-3PO and R2-D2 stood by nervously as the apartment darkened for the last time. We should leave now, Padme urged, before the clones lock down the sector. Anakin nodded. There's a small transport waiting in the industrial district. An old smuggler friend of mine owns it. No Republic transponders. We'll Be ghosts before sunrise. Padme hesitated. What about Obi-Wan? Anakin paused. His first instinct was to say Obi-Wan would understand, even support them. But deep down he wasn't sure. The Jedi were losing control of the war and themselves. Would Obi-Wan risk everything to protect two fugitives? Before he could answer, the door chimed. Anakin's hand went to his lightsaber. Old habits. Obi-Wan's voice came through the panel. It's me. The door slid open. Obi-Wan stepped inside, cloaked and unarmed. His eyes went first to Padme, then Anakin. I'm not here to stop you. I came to warn you. Anakin's stomach tightened. They're coming. Yes. Obi-Wan's face was grim. The Council has sanctioned your arrest, but it's worse than that. Sidious, Palpatine. He's ordered the clone commanders to execute something called Order 66. I don't know what it is yet, but every clone army has received the command. Padme's face paled. What does that mean? Anakin knew. The Jedi, he's going to wipe out the Jedi. Obi-Wan nodded heavily. And anyone they protect, anyone who stands in the way. Padme's hand gripped Anakin's. So it's already begun, Anakin whispered. Palpatine isn't going to just let me walk away. He'll kill anyone I love, and he'll destroy the Order to cover his tracks. Obi-Wan lowered his head. We have to move now. You're not the only ones in danger. Yoda has already gone. Into hiding. The temple may fall by morning. The industrial district was a labyrinth of shadows and steel. Smoke curled from the factories that never slept. Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan and the droids moved swiftly between shadows. Anakin kept his senses stretched thin, feeling every possible threat. Patrols were everywhere now, not just clones, but Red Guard detachments. The smuggler's freighter waited where promised, its hull old but reliable. The ramp was down, engines humming softly. Once we're in hyperspace, we'll head for Naboo, Anakin said. From there, we can decide where to vanish. Obi-Wan paused at the bottom of the ramp. I'll help you get clear, but then I have to go. Back? Someone has to warn what's left of the Jedi. Someone has to fight. Anakin swallowed hard. You'll be hunted too. I know, Obi-Wan smiled faintly. But this isn't about us anymore. It's about survival. Anakin reached out, gripping his former master's shoulder. Be careful. And thank you. For what? For believing in me, even now. They almost made it. As the freighter's hatch began to rise, the roar of approaching engines filled the air. Clone gunships, half a dozen. Floodlights snapped on, blinding the group. Anakin's hand flew to his lightsaber. Obi-Wan's did too. Anakin Skywalker! A voice boomed from the gunships. By order of the Supreme Chancellor and the Jedi! Council, you are under arrest for sedition, conspiracy, and treason. Obi-Wan hissed. They're using both sides of the law now, clever. Get Padme aboard, Anakin ordered. Padme grabbed C-3PO and hurried up the ramp with R2-D2 behind her. Blaster cannons charged. Anakin took a deep breath. No more. Running. He ignited his saber. The brilliant blue cast a cold light on his face. If they want a fight. Obi-Wan's blade snapped to life beside him. They'll get one. Above them, watching from the shadows of the highest spires, Darth Sidious narrowed his eyes. If Skywalker refuses to kneel, he'll fall like all the rest. But even he hadn't foreseen how much destruction Anakin Skywalker would bring. Not as a Jedi. Not as a Sith. But as a man who had nothing left to lose. The gunships hovered like vultures over a battlefield, their cannons swiveling toward the smuggler's freighter. Clone commanders barked orders. Troopers filed out in formation. Rifles raised. Their white armor gleamed cold beneath the floodlights. Anakin's heart pounded, not with fear but rage. They would fire on a pregnant woman, on their own general, on the Republic's so-called heroes. Last warning, the clone commander called out. Stand down or be terminated. Obi-Wan leaned close. There's too many, Anakin. We can't hold them off forever. We don't need forever. Anakin narrowed his eyes. Just long enough. The freighter's engines roared to life, its repulsor lifts glowing. Padme was in the cockpit now, guiding the ship upward. R2-D2 chirped from the controls. Anakin stepped forward, raising his free hand. "Stand down," he shouted to the troopers. "I don't want to kill you." The clone commander hesitated. For a moment the conditioning fought with memories of marching beside Skywalker on battlefields, trusting his orders, seeing him save their brothers again and again. Then the inhibitor chip pulsed. Order 66's control locked into place. "Fire!" Blaster bolts screamed toward them. Anakin moved like a thunderstorm. His saber was a blur, deflecting shots back into the ranks. Obi-Wan mirrored his movements, graceful and deadly. The two fought as they had in hundreds of battles, but this time the enemy was their own soldiers. Clones fell, but more kept coming. The gunships opened fire. Anakin reached out through the Force, gripping one of the eye, attacking ships with an invisible hand. His teeth clenched. His entire body trembled as he poured every ounce of his strength into the vessel. Metal groaned. The gunship shuddered, then crumpled like paper. It spiraled out of control and crashed into another gunship in a brilliant fireball. Obi-Wan froze for just a moment, stunned. He'd never seen Anakin wield power like that, not even during the worst days of the Clone Wars. "Get aboard!" Obi-Wan shouted. Anakin didn't hesitate. He leapt onto the freighter's ramp. Just as the engines flared to full power, Obi-Wan followed, deflecting the last few bolts before diving inside. The hatch sealed shut. Padme's voice crackled over the comm. "Hold on!" The freighter punched skyward, its heavy frame rattling as blaster fire chased it into the clouds. High above Coruscant's atmosphere, the blockade waited. Star destroyers hung in orbit like silent predators. The moment the freighter approached, targeting alarms blared. Tractor beams reached for the small ship. Anakin sprinted to the cockpit, sliding into the co-pilot's seat beside Padme. "Get us clear of the planet," he ordered. "I'll handle the rest." The tractor beams tightened their grip. The freighter jolted violently. Anakin closed his eyes. "Not like this. Not when we're so close." He reached into the Force again, not just as a weapon, but as a shield. His mind extended outward, searching for the weakest link in the star. Destroyer's tractor systems. He found it, a faulty relay on the port side array. With a furious twist of the Force, he overloaded the system. Sparks exploded along the Star Destroyer's underbelly. The tractor beams faltered. The freighter surged forward. "Hang on," Padme gasped. "Plotting a jump to hyperspace." The Navy computer buzzed impatiently. It hadn't finished the calculations. "No time." Anakin reached out with the Force, guiding Padme's hands. "Trust me." She nodded. Her faith in him was absolute. The stars stretched into long white lines as the freighter jumped to light speed, just as the first Star Destroyer fired. The bolts passed harmlessly through empty space. In the quiet hum of hyperspace, the tension finally broke. Anakin leaned back, his breath shaky. His hand found Padme's. She squeezed it tightly. Obi-Wan stepped into the cockpit, weary but alive. "We made it. For now," Anakin nodded. "But we can't stay in the core worlds. Palpatine's reach is too strong." "I know a few outer rim systems where the Republic has little presence," Obi-Wan offered. "But it won't take long before the Empire, or what's left of the Republic, hunts us down." Padme looked at Anakin, then Obi-Wan. "We have to find allies, people who'll stand against Palpatine. If we hide, he wins. He'll kill every Jedi, every senator who defies him." Anakin's eyes darkened. "Then we'll fight, not as Jedi, not as soldiers, but as free people." Obi-Wan managed a faint smile. "Sounds like a rebellion." Anakin nodded slowly. "Then, let's start one." Far away in the shadows of the Senate, Darth Sidious watched the empty sky where the freighter had vanished. His fury was absolute, but fury was not defeat. The Jedi were crumbling. The Senate was already under his control, and the people would soon beg for the security of his empire. As for Skywalker, the Chosen One will either kneel or die. There is no other end. The freighter emerged from hyperspace into the vast emptiness above Polis Massa, a remote asteroid, facility known only to a handful of senators and medics. It wasn't much, but it was safe, at least for now. Anakin guided the ship in carefully. Padme watched him, worry shadowing her features. Though they had escaped Coruscant, The galaxy's true danger was just beginning. As they disembarked, they were greeted by Bail Organa himself, flanked by Mon Mothma and a few trusted aides. "You made it," Bail said, relief flooding his face. "I wasn't sure you would." "We barely did," Obi-Wan replied grimly. Padme wasted no time. "We can't stay here long. Palpatine will track any of us given enough time." Mon Mothma nodded. "We've already started forming a network. Senators, planetary leaders, even former Jedi. The foundations of resistance are coming together." Anakin crossed his arms. "Then we need to make this official. No more hiding. We need to strike before Palpatine consolidates his power." Bail frowned. "We don't have the numbers. His armies outmatch us 1,000 to 1. Anakin's voice lowered. "We don't need to win outright. Not yet. We need to remind the galaxy that Palpatine's not invincible, that he can bleed." Obi-Wan shot him a concerned glance. "Anakin, you're talking about a full-scale insurrection. I'm talking about survival." Anakin's eyes were cold now. "If we wait, there won't be anything left to save." In the hours that followed, the beginnings of what would one day be known as the Rebellion took shape. Anakin proposed coordinated strikes on Imperial supply lines. Mon Mothma suggested using propaganda to expose Palpatine's crimes. Obi-Wan, though reluctant, offered intelligence from Jedi survivors scattered across the Rim. But even as they planned, the war continued without them. Reports poured in. Jedi massacres, clone forces occupying entire sectors, dissent crushed under the boot of the new galactic empire. The galaxy was sliding into darkness faster than any of them could have imagined. In private, Anakin and Padme shared rare fleeting moments of peace. They stood together in a quiet chamber, overlooking the barren asteroids beyond Polis Massa's shielded dome. "You could have let me go alone," Padme whispered. "Spared yourself all this." Anakin shook his head. "I didn't leave the Jedi just for myself. I left for you, for our family." His hand rested gently on her swollen belly. "I won't let this galaxy take any more from me." Padme tried to smile, but her eyes filled with tears. "They'll keep coming after us. Then let them come." But the galaxy wasn't the only threat. In the shadows beyond the rebellions, Darth Sidious was preparing his next move. He had lost Skywalker, his greatest prize. But he still had the loyalty of the clones, the power of the Senate, and most importantly, a new apprentice, one born from the depths of Coruscant's criminal underworld. Brutal, obedient, eager to prove himself. His name was Darth Varkros. Sidious stood before his new enforcer in the darkness of the Imperial Palace. "Skywalker has made his choice," the Emperor rasped. "You will hunt him, you will kill him, and when you do, you will crush not only the man, but the very hope he carries." Varkros bowed low. "It will be done, my master." Days later, a fleet of Imperial Star Destroyers slipped into the Outer Rim. At their head was Varkros's personal battlecruiser, the Maelstrom. Their course Polis Massa. The time for cat and mouse was over. Anakin Skywalker's rebellion was about to face its first true war. The alarms screamed across Polis Massa's control center. "Imperial." "Fleet emerging from hyperspace," a technician shouted. "They found us." Anakin was already running, Obi-Wan at his side. Bail and Mon Mothma followed close behind, panic etched into their faces. "How many ships?" Obi-Wan demanded. "More than we can count," the technician replied. "A full Star Destroyer, battle group, and a Superstar Destroyer leading them." Anakin's breath hardened. "The Maelstrom." Obi-Wan frowned. "You know it." "I know who commands it." Anakin's hand tightened around his lightsaber. "Darth Varkros, Palpatine's new enforcer." Mon Mothma shook her head. "We can't defend this station, not against that." "Then we evacuate," Bail ordered. "Get every ship ready for launch." But Anakin wasn't listening. His mind was racing. "If we run now, the Empire will follow. Every base, every safe house. We'll never get ahead of them again." He turned to Obi-Wan. "We need to buy time." The older Jedi nodded grimly. "What do you have in mind?" "I'll take a squadron and engage their advanced ships. You lead the civilians to safety." "No." Padme's voice rang from the hallway behind them. She stood tall despite the fear in her eyes. "You've already given up everything. I won't let you give up your life too. Anakin moved to her, pressing his forehead to hers. If I don't stop them now, none of us will have a life left. Padme's hands clung to his tunic. Then we'll fight together. Before Anakin could protest, Obi-Wan stepped forward. She's right. He smiled sadly. We're past the point where one man can shoulder everything. It's time for all of us to stand. Bail and Mon Mothma exchanged a glance, then nodded. We'll rally the volunteers, Bail said. Every ship we have will take up arms. In the hangars, the rebel fighters scrambled. Old Clone Wars-era starfighters were hauled from storage. Pilots, both ex-Republic soldiers and fresh recruits, suited up. The smell of fuel, sweat, and determination filled the air. Anakin stood by a retrofitted ARC-170 starfighter, running a hand along the hull. Obi-Wan joined him. Reminds me of the first battles, Obi-Wan said quietly. Geonosis, Christophsis, even Cato Nemoidia. Anakin smirked. This time we're not fighting for the Council. We're fighting for people. They clasped forearms, a bond stronger than war, stronger than the order that had once chained them. I'll take Red Squadron, Obi-Wan said. You lead. Gold. And Padme. She'll be on the command ship, with Mon Mothma and Bail out of harm's way. Obi-Wan chuckled softly. At least as much as you can keep her out of harm's way. Anakin smiled, but worry lingered in his heart. He kissed Padme one last time before boarding the starfighter. Trust me, he whispered. We'll make it through. The battle began with fire and fury. Imperial TIE squadrons swarmed the rebel ships. Star destroyers loomed like leviathans, their turbo lasers raining destruction across the void. But the rebels were fast, clever, desperate. Anakin led Gold Squadron straight into the heart of the Imperial fleet, weaving through enemy fire like a phantom. His instincts guided him, as they always had. Not the cold calculations of the Jedi, but the raw passion to protect those he loved. Obi-Wan's Red Squadron flanked the Maelstrom, drawing the heavy guns away from the escape ships. But then the Maelstrom's hangars opened. A black fighter screamed into the battle, sleek, fast, and exuding power. At its helm, Darth Varkros. His voice crackled across the comms. Skywalker, at last we meet. Anakin's eyes narrowed. If you wanted me, you didn't need to bring a fleet. Oh, but I did, Varkros sneered. To burn your rebellion into ashes, to break you in front of the galaxy. The two fighters collided in a deadly ballet of lasers and skill. Anakin's starfighter danced through Varkros's attacks, returning precise shots that clipped the Imperial's shields. But Varkros was fast, unnaturally fast. Every movement whispered of dark power. Their duel wasn't just machines and lasers. Through the Force they clashed mind to mind, will to will. You should have been one of us, Varkros hissed in Anakin's thoughts. Palpatine offered you greatness. You chose weakness. I chose freedom, and it will destroy you. Their fighters locked, wings briefly, grinding metal against metal in a brutal embrace. Anakin saw Varkros's face at last, young, scarred, and utterly consumed by the dark side. This is what I could have become, Anakin realized. This is the future I rejected. But the battle wasn't going his way. The Maelstrom's guns had locked onto the rebel command ship, Padme's ship. Anakin's blood turned to ice. Obi-Wan, he shouted into the comm. They're targeting the command. Obi-Wan's voice was tight. I see it. We're too far. Varkros grinned savagely. Your family dies tonight, Skywalker. Anakin's heart exploded with power. He pushed his fighter beyond its limits, the Force pouring through him like wildfire. But was it enough? The Maelstrom's main battery charged with a deadly hum. Turbolasers locked onto the rebel command ship, where Padme, Mon Mothma, and Bail. Organa stood helpless, watching the red glow of death growing larger in the viewport. Anakin, Padme whispered, clutching her belly, willing him to be fast enough. In the cold emptiness of space, Anakin's starfighter surged forward, every thruster burning beyond safe limits. Red alarms screamed in the cockpit. The astromech behind him wailed in protest, but none of it mattered. I will not lose her. I will not lose my family. Varkros' fighter swept into his path, blocking the way. Anakin roared, pushing the Force through his very bones. His starfighter rolled at an impossible angle, scraping past Varkros's ship. Lasers flashed, severing the enemy's port wing. Varkros spiraled out of control, but Anakin didn't stop to watch him fall. He streaked straight toward the Maelstrom's super laser. "Obi-Wan, cover the command ship," he shouted into the ear. "Comsil, I'm ending this." "Anakin, no," Obi-Wan cried. "There has to be another way." "There's not." The Maelstrom's battery fired. Anakin reached out with the Force, not just to deflect, not to dodge, to stop it. His mind gripped the energy of the beam itself. Power unlike any Jedi had ever dared to wield surged through him. His starfighter shook, metal groaning under the pressure. Blood dripped from his nose, his vision blurred, but the beam slowed, then stopped. For a moment, it hung frozen in space, a lance of impossible light held back by one man's will. Behind him, Obi-Wan and the surviving rebel fighters formed a defensive screen around the command ship, shooting down every TIE that dared approach. "Padme," Anakin whispered, "hold on." With a final cry, he thrust the energy back toward the Maelstrom. The redirected beam slammed into the Star Destroyer's command tower. Explosion after explosion ripped through the ship's spine. Fire engulfed the Maelstrom. Inside the doomed vessel, Darth Varkros clawed at the controls of his crippled fighter. His hatred pulsed through the Force. "You haven't won, Skywalker," he hissed as the flames consumed him. The Maelstrom exploded in a storm of light and metal. Silence followed. Then cheers crackled across the rebel comm channels. Obi-Wan's voice was hoarse but triumphant. "The fleet is retreating. They've lost their leader." Anakin's starfighter drifted powerless now, its systems fried. But he was alive, barely. Padme's voice broke through the static. "Anakin! Anakin, answer me!" He reached for the comm, every muscle trembling. "I'm here, I'm okay." Her relieved sob was the sweetest sound he'd ever heard. Hours later, aboard the surviving rebel command ship, Anakin stood beside Obi-Wan, Padme, Mon Mothma, and Bail. The cost had been high. Many brave pilots had been lost. The Empire would regroup and strike again. But they had won a victory, not just a battle, a symbol. The galaxy now had hope. Obi-Wan laid a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "That power you used, it was dangerous." Anakin nodded. "I know, but I didn't take it from the dark. I took it from the one thing Palpatine never understood." "What's that?" Obi-Wan asked. "Love." As the stars stretched before them, Mon Mothma's voice echoed across the gathered survivors. "Today we stood against the Empire. Today we reminded the galaxy that tyranny will not go unchallenged." The pilots cheered. Anakin wrapped an arm around Padme as she leaned into him, eyes shining. "And tomorrow," Mon Mothma continued, "we begin building something new, a rebellion." The crowd erupted. Anakin looked to Obi-Wan, then to the stars. He felt the future, uncertain, dangerous, but free. No council, no chains, no Sith, only the chance to fight for a better galaxy. And for the first time in a long, long while, Anakin Skywalker smiled.